Yeah,
Hello.
Martin, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yes, good afternoon. Apology for all this. I think Michelle is trying to log in from her laptop, but it didn't work. And she's trying from her phone as well. So please go ahead. I think we can start now. Good afternoon. And thank you very much for being with us today. And Mr. Tadesse as well from Birmingham is the former PLF. And please introduce yourself, Martin, very quick. I mean, we already did last time, but just for a short introduction.
Well, I work with the Institute of Commonwealth Studies. I'm a senior research fellow at the University of London. I was the BBC Africa editor, and I've been to Eritrea several times.
Yeah, Tadesse, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I live in Birmingham. My name is Tadesse Kidane. I am former EPLF member. I joined EPLF in 1978, and I've been there until independence. My background is 5 years for active fighting until 1983. From 1983, I was wounded and lost my leg, so I just went to zero school. I was a teacher, a teacher, and also a supervisor. Or yeah. And thank you very much, Martin. I know I used to listen to your broadcast during the struggle, Eritrean. Yeah, with my little English, I was not capable of listening English, but I know your name, and I have also bought your book 2 years.
Very
So,
kind of you.
and you are very thank you for your giving us books for our active movement in Birmingham as well. When we put it in shuffle, I also won one book in addition to the one I bought before. And thank you very much for that.
A pleasure.
Okay, so as you know, my name is Mr. Wallace. Everybody knows who I am. So today, Michelle Wrong is struggling to get on this. We should have tested before this, but I assume that everything was working on these new laptops, but that's the problem. But maybe, Michelle, I can give you a call so that maybe you can introduce yourself very quick. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Tadesse, can you hear her?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Michela Wrong. Sorry, apology for this. This is my mistake, actually. We should have tested, but go ahead, introduce yourself. I know you have a limited time, but we need to make it very quick in the half an hour.
Okay, but no face. Is this just radio, video?
Yeah, just audio.
Okay, all right. Can you hear me all right on the link?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, then we can do it this way.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, and so let me give the opportunity to people to ask questions. So if you're asking any questions from Denmark, put 45 so that I can pick you. If you're asking from UK, put 44 so that we can follow up. So let's pick very quick question on Martin or Michelle. Okay, since you're not asking, so let me ask myself. So, Michelle, you wrote a book about Eritrea. I don't do it for you. This is back in Second World War. Second World War was celebrated 75 years last Friday in Europe, which paid a lot of blood, and young people died as well. So what made you writing about Eritrea, and how did you get to know about Eritrea as well?
Yeah, not really catching the reference to World War II. I wrote the book, it came out in 2005. So I was very interested in the story of how Eritrea had interacted with all these countries. From Italy in the first place as a colonizing power. After that, the British. That was in the Second World War. And then, then we have the experiences with Americans who were using it as a listening base. Academy Station and the whole story of American interest in that area, and of course the UN experience and the end of the federation under the UN and the way in which Ethiopia swallowed up Eritrea. So it was basically a book that was looking at about 100 years of Eritrean history, because it seemed to me that very, the Eritrea has a unique history of so many interactions with outside powers that have sort of molded it, many often trying to exploit it for geographic strategic reasons, or because the Italians wanted an empire. So it was just, and then of course I forgot to mention the Russians and their time under Mengistu, when they also spent a lot of time in Eritrea. So it was just it was trying to draw the links between Eritrea and the outside powers that had sort of played a role there.
Okay, thank you very much. I think now you're writing a book as well on Central Africa mass movement since from 90 until now as well. So with during the time we have with the technical issue, let me focus on that. What would be your advice for the young Eritrean when you see the Uganda and you mentioned as well Rwanda, the legacy of the elderly long-term leadership, and how do we get Eritrea compared to the Uganda, for example? You have the musician Bobby Wine, one of the very well known in East Africa. So what would be your advice in Eritrea? And I met you a few times as well in Eritrean meetings. So how do you see this to mobilize Eritrean young generation?
A lot of questions. I am writing a book. I was very interested in the trajectory, the story of the various revolutionary movements. But in the 1990s in Africa, you saw the Renaissance leaders, as they were called at one stage, by Thabo Mbeki, who were all these guerrilla leaders who became presidents or heads of state. So you had Asaias in Eritrea, Meles in Ethiopia, in Uganda you had Yoweri Museveni, Laurent Kabila in Congo, and then Paul Kagame, his force invading Rwanda from Uganda. And I think if you look at the trajectory, it's very similar stories. What you see is revolutionary movements that came in promising a break to the past, and what's been great to see the way in which they've often ended up becoming so similar to the regimes that they ousted. And the presidents who said they would stay for 2-3 years. I mean, in Uganda, Yoweri Museveni was always the man who used to lecture other African presidents to stand down and that no one should be in power for more than 10 years. Well, he's now been in power since 1996. And what you see is these young leaders who are no longer young and who have absolutely no intention of ever quitting power. And then there's the question of the succession. Increasingly, you hear people talking about their children taking over, their sons or their daughter, in the case of Paul Kagame, Muhoozi in Uganda, Eritrea, they talk about Isaiah's son. And I was just very interested in this phenomenon, why this happens. And what you also see in these countries is brothers in arms who ended up at war with one another over the border. You also see Uganda and Rwanda, two forces that were so close, they were brothers, they taught each other how to fight. Many of the leaders of the RPF were actually raised and studied and went to university in Uganda. They spoke Ugandan languages. Many of their friends didn't even know that they weren't Ugandan. They thought that they were. And then you get these two forces, these two armies shooting at each other in Kisangani. Now in this very, very tense situation, sort of, some people are very worried that there could be a war between Uganda and Rwanda. So it's another story of brotherly comrades falling out. And why does that happen? So that's really what I'm trying to look at in my book, and I think it's very, very relevant to Eritrea and Ethiopia, but it's also relevant to Uganda and Rwanda. So you asked about, my advice to young Eritreans is I think my advice is take an interest, because I go to many of the meetings that Martin plays a part in organising, and when I look across the room, I'm often struck by how, that a lot of the people in the audience are older than me, and I'm not young. And that these are people who have been in the diaspora a long time. And, as we look across, I think, where are the young people? Africa is on the brink of generational change. You talked about Bobby Wine in Uganda, the disc jockeys, disc jockey is the wrong word, he's a singer, a rapper, he's become a politician, and he's got this really enthusiastic following now. He's a man who came from the slums, and is trying to challenge Museveni for the presidency. And I think the continent's aching for change. And it's got one of the most geriatric, aging. I mean, if you look at the average age of presidents and heads of state in Africa, it's extraordinarily old. And the difference between the average age of most of the African populations and their leaders is just staggering. Whereas here in Europe, if you look at the average age of the population, the average age of their leaders is much, much closer. And that's just, that's a very troublesome mix. So, but the trouble is that, change isn't going to come unless it's forced on the Eritrean leadership. And when I'm in the diaspora sitting at these meetings and I'm looking across the room and thinking, where's the change going to come from? Because what I see is sort of all these young people heading out, and God knows I understand why they head out of Eritrea, but they're not then engaging, as far as I can see, often not engaging at all in any attempt to sort of think about things back home and change things back home. And so that leaves the way free to the existing regime. You think of the sort of 70s and 80s when all these youngsters who were equally upset the way, Haile Selassie or the Derg have been running Eritrea, but they headed abroad and they worked as taxi drivers and waiters, and then they gave their money, their savings, or they joined the fronts, the various rebel movements. And I think we live in a very individualistic age, and so people sort of, they head out and then they want to be prosperous, they want to do well, they want to, buy a smartphone, have a laptop, buy eventually a car and a house, and there's no sense of like, well, what about the community, where do we go from here, and what's going to happen back home if all the best people in the country leave? Yeah, that's I totally understand why people make those individual choices.
Yeah, I think let me add to that. Actually, we have many young Eritrean, and they are fragmented, as you say. That's why the main reason we're hosting this on the Facebook, because we get into the young closer, because a lot of young Eritreans spend time on Facebook. So no one knows our frustration, our struggling, because you don't see them, but they don't come to the meeting, but they're very fighting against the regime. I mean, if you spend on the Facebook, the way they write in Tigrinya in Arabic is fabulous, but what we're missing is no one knows about our struggling. When I went to Geneva 2016, we had many feedback as well, but doing demonstration, I mean, this is digital age, we're changing, so we're trying to bring them from Facebook to Twitter so that they can tweet, or they can write as well in English instead of just focusing in Tigrinya. So this is one of the main reasons. So what would be your advice on this, just before we go to Martin?
I think you have to, I mean, it's easy for me to give lessons. I'm British and I live in a country which has its problems, but there's a different problems that are at a different level. But I mean, you have to stand up and be counted. I often, I sort of go to meetings where when you do see young people, they won't ask questions, or they're only the real radicals. And I get the impression it's often because they want to be able to go back home for the holidays, or they hate the fact that if they stand up and ask a question, somebody in the audience who's there from the embassy will be filming them and making a note of their names. And I think, you can only keep a low profile for so long, because, what are you getting out of that low profile? Life in the West, if you're an Eritrean, it's not easy. And I think one of the dangers of Facebook and the sort of fantasy that people live on social media, where we all show our pictures of our holidays and our wonderful homes and our friends and the best moments of our lives. Nobody's showing what it's really like to be living in a council flat in Manchester with 10 other people sleeping on the floor. So I think there's a lot of dishonesty about Facebook. There's a lot of fantasy going on. And I think people don't want to admit how hard it is once they go abroad. They don't want to stand up and be counted by the people at the embassy. And I totally understand that. And they just sort of, they want to keep a low profile and make their own way. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, that's exactly what the regime in Asmara wants. So there does come a point where you have to stand up and decide which side you're on, as the song goes.
Yeah. I think that what you're saying is, I mean, freedom doesn't come for free. Everybody has to contribute to that. I think, as you mentioned, back in the 80s, we had many young Eritreans flee from Western, different side of the world and went to Sahel to free Eritrea. So, well, thank you very much on that. Let me go back to Martin. Martin, if you can share a bit about the social media, all that, and we have people online as well. They want to ask. I think maybe I might give them a chance to ask you before you go. So, is there anyone has any question to Martin Plaut? So please put your country code so that I can give you the chance to ask, so that I can call you on the messenger, please. Well, I think. Yeah, well. Go ahead, if you have a question, you can ask as well. Martin, if you have any question, go ahead. Or if you want to give us advice on what we said in the last few seconds.
Well, I'd just like to ask Tadesse, I mean, how does it feel yourself to have been, you know, such an integral part of the struggle for so many years, having given up so much and been wounded so severely? How does it make you feel now when you look at your country?
Devastated, really, because, you know, we fought. We have, as you have seen in the organization institution, EPLF institution, our aim is, one, to expel or to make our country free, then to hand over the power to the public. We succeed on the first. We destroyed the Ethiopian army, but we didn't give the power to the people. It's not only we didn't give the power to the people. Even we ourselves, those who were fighting for independence, were still under the repression. The authorities, the military, started to hunt us because we demanded our liberty. We handed them over when we joined them as soldiers. Of course, we are soldiers. Then, when the war for independence ended, we claimed back our rights, and they started to chase us. And we have no choice.
Let me just ask you on that. I mean, during the War of Liberation, did you ever get any hint that this might happen after liberation?
Let me go to the liberation time. To be frank, we were fighting a very, very big enemy, which doesn't come far from Europe. We crossed sea, but which have only land border. We were the same. Eritrea and Ethiopia are on the land border. So every time, thousands and thousands come.
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking you is, was there anything that explained to you during the liberation struggle that the kind of organization there was in the EPLF would not change at independence?
No. To be frank, everybody was expecting the other. When EPLF in 1991, we all expected to everybody to have multi-part system. That's what we were wanting. not to rule by one party and one ideology, but everybody can 2 or 3 parties, and we can join whichever party we want. Unfortunately, all this was gone, and we ended up.
What was the first thing that happened to you that explained to you, hang on, this is not going to happen? Was it when the EPLF didn't treat the disabled fighters correctly? Or was it when the soldiers went on strike because they weren't paid? What was the first moment that you had an idea that there's a problem?
Personally, I didn't, from late 1980s, I saw the organization is going to be democratic after independence. We have hint, but we were sure the organization is going to free Eritrea. So in 1990, before independence, there was a lot of argument. Is EPLF all going to be one party, or we are going to divide into 3 parties? And if we are going to divide into 3 parties, are we going the people who betrayed us during the struggle going to come and have their own party like EPLF or others, or we the EPLF are only going to have to divide into parties? That was a lot of argument. There was no answer. As soon as independence came, the first thing I did is to join university to learn, to claim back my personal liberty. But I joined university in 1992, soon after independence. Then after 1 year, I was told to leave university because I am a soldier. I am Tagadalai, not a civilian to learn. That time was the starting of me versus the government, I think.
But I remember that there was a terrible moment where, and I'm sure you remember it, when the disabled fighters walked into Asmara and demanded that they get better treatment, and they were shot at by the police and by the troops. I mean, do you remember that?
Yeah, this was in 1994. I'm talking far before 1992, 1993. Yes, they did try to come to Asmara because they demanded, they left with nothing. They left in nothing. I know some disabled fighters, they were told to go to their homes. Well, they are disabled. And it happened because this is the time the top military men were exercising their power to embed their power within the organization or the people. So that was a sign, or that was a message to the whole population. Unless you obey us, you will end up like this.
I mean, to be honest with you, as an outsider, it was the most shocking thing I had seen, because yes. I remember during the liberation struggle, the respect and the love and the support that all the fully able fighters gave to the disabled fighters was amazing, absolutely amazing. They would do anything for the disabled fighters. And for the EPLF to open fire on the disabled, who had given not just their time and their courage, but had given parts of their bodies to the struggle. And to do that was just, for me, completely I mean, I just couldn't understand it.
Yes, yes. But it is 1990. I said from 1991, the top leaders were hunting everybody who voiced against them. From the day of the independence, I mean, the Ethiopian soldiers were gone. From that onward, every fighter who voiced against the current regime that is going to be a government were hunting. And we, after 2 cities in 1994, almost everybody was shocked. Even we can't do anything. A lot of people were arrested underground. As foreigners, or this is the moment where the APLF exposed itself to the wider community. But with inside APLF, there was so many atrocities from the day May 24. After that, May 26, starting after 2 days or 3 days, there was a lot of division inside the organization, and a lot of kidnaps, a lot of arrests, and so many. So that is something exposed, EPLF exposed to the wider community. But for us,
let me ask you a question about that. When that began to happen, which, as you say, came as a big surprise to you, How did you, as a fighter and your colleagues, how did they react to that? Did they not think we must stop this? Or what did they feel?
As you know, there is no information is not going smoothly in Eritrea. So nobody knows or heard this atrocity in one time. For me, myself, I live in the Kamhara, it's just 40 kilometers from Asmara, and a little far, not far from Nafasit, where the atrocities takes place. I heard after 3 years, and I went for the Disabled Association, that's also forwarded by the government itself. When I reached there, they told me everything is under strict scrutiny of the security service. So all over the country, the news didn't go at the same time, but news spread slowly and slowly and slowly. And the government was acting according to it. Even we go to Asmara University, students were learning in Asmara University's teacher. One of the lecturers came and said something to the students. The students even don't know what had happened. So to say this, the news was not heard across Eritrea in one day, on one time, and even the news were clear, not clear. No one knows what had happened in the facility. Only we know is disabled soldiers were shot. Bullets were shot against them. What happened to them? Did they die? Did they wounded? Did the bullets were fired to the sky? No one knows. No one knows what had happened. Everything knows in remorse. And there is nothing you can do if you don't know what is going on in one part of the country.
So from your point of view, the big problem really was that the government controlled the flow of information. Yes. And as a result, they controlled the society.
Yes. Even now, until this time, no one knows what is going on in Eritrea. We only know by rumors after it is too late. It is very, very too late. We don't know what's going on in Eritrea. And now, after the peace agreement with the Ethiopian government came, some rumors come through Ethiopia. And even if you outside go to Ethiopia or anywhere, even here, people are asked to shut their mouths. Only few people have courage to speak what they know. Even here now, after 30 years of independence, many people have still shut their mouths. They are very, very afraid to talk about the government.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly aware of what you're saying. I mean, right now there are rumors of General Philippos being in Addis Ababa. There are rumors of tension with Tigray. There are all sorts of rumors of, possible troop movements. But you have no idea if any of these are true. They may be absolute rubbish. They may be completely untrue. I mean, there were rumors that President Isaias himself was dead, that he had a heart attack. They turned out to be untrue. And that's the problem. And the government exploits the rumors. I think some of them are started by the government as a way of undermining people's information and the security that they have about information. And in a sense, it plays exactly into the point that you're making. And that is a great problem for all the people of Eritrea, whether they're inside the country or outside the country.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let me ask you then, Martin. What do we need to do then outside of Eritrea? Because we have a freedom. We live in UK. We happy to live in UK with the freedom. We are granted for free.
I understand what you're saying, and what I think that the key thing is to answer the point that Tadesse made, which is on the one hand, there clearly is a lot of rumor and a lot of untrue information, but at the same time, most Eritreans have good links into the country. They can talk to their relatives. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And if everybody came together and brought the information in a shared way and say, look, this is what I'm hearing from you, this is what I'm hearing from you, can everybody share this information and then disprove and approve it? I mean, that's the only way you can do it, because you won't get the information from the government, but you do know, I mean, collectively, not one by one. One by one, you may be incorrect, but together, people have a good idea of what's happening. I mean, for example, how much water is there in Asmara? If you ask people, they know. It's not a surprise when people say there's a shortage of water. They know.
Yes, you're right. Michelle, do you have any question, Mr. Tadesse?
Yeah, can I just make a comment? One of the things that's always really struck me about the conversation on social media, which I can read, because sadly I don't speak Tigrinya or Arabic, is how unpleasant it is. You know, it's conducted at the level of screaming and shouting. And this is, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of government trolls on there who are pretending to be ordinary Eritreans that are actually being paid for by the government to do what they do. But the tone is so unpleasant. And I always think that if I was a reasonable young Eritrean and I'd just arrived in Europe or America or Canada, I wouldn't want to engage in that debate. And I think, you know, it's kind of, I think social media suffers from this generally, but the kind of discourse that you see in particular from Eritrea and Ethiopia, and then between those two diasporas, is so deeply, it's in your face, and very alienating. And what I really think is some of the websites have really done this better than others, and I think some of them just often give up. Is you would do better to have, you know, managed websites where people can chat, but you have people who are acting, playing the role that you see on newspapers like The Guardian or New York Times, where as soon as people start getting abusive and confrontational and hurling personal insults, they intervene and they say, sorry, we're not having that kind of discussion. Or they point out various things and they sort of fact check and sort of say, I'm afraid that's actually an exaggeration, that's not true. That's work. I mean, and that's something that people have to volunteer to do because there's not going to be any money.
Yeah, I think it's a
really important role, because I think that a lot of people don't, you were saying, why don't young people take part in English, why aren't they joining in the conversation? Well, the conversation is often not a conversation, it's screaming. And I really, really think it's something that people have to learn how to do. It's something we all have problems with because we all end up talking to the people who agree with us, and then they all say, yeah, you're right, yeah, say it, tell him. It's also, by the way, a very misogynistic conversation. So it's dominated by men, and what I've seen here in Britain is, you notice the people who are always most abusive on social media, most confrontational, who enjoy fighting for the sake of it, just in words, are usually men. So I think that it is really, really important, because you're alienating huge numbers of women, and you're alienating just a lot of moderate, normal people who they're worried about what's going on back home, they're unhappy with what the government is doing, but they hate this tone of voice. And I think this is something that the people who run the websites need to sort of address, because it's something that people have to learn how to do. They have to learn how to have a more civilized conversation, a more restrained, moderate, respectful conversation.
I think this is very vital information you sharing, advice actually, because many Eritreans don't understand the regulation of any Facebook or hate any individual against religion, political or personal. I think we have very weak.
I'm always astonished by this as a journalist. One of the first things you learn is because as soon as you put something on Twitter or Facebook, you have published it, and that the person you have just insulted or called a racist or called a hate monger or a genocidalist, they can sue you, and they can take you to court for a lot of money. And that's one of the first lessons that you have to do.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think we Eritrean, we didn't take any opportunity to Martin, before you go then,
I'm sorry, I have to go.
This is a question I have to practice. I just want to hear.
Okay.
I think you need to go in silent. I think, yeah. the question I have is, because you mentioned about EPLF, all that. Mr. Tadesse, did EPLF fail to implement civil liberty and rights in Eritrea, and why?
Yes, EPLF failed to deliver civil rights in Eritrea. I think the source of this is, it is according to the time it took for the Eritrean liberation. It took 30 years, and the authorities, 20 out of 30 years were led by a very few people. So these people have tried to identify the people who are docile people who are going to be abide by what they said, who are survives. That's the main. After independence, the PLF had two ways: either to deliver power to the civilian, or to be a government by itself. At this time, there was no free institution in Eritrean community in and out, both inside and outside. All the institutions in the Eritrean community was totally under the domination of EPLF. So there was nothing to stop EPLF to have its own government, to instate its own government or civilian government, to challenge it. Even the intellectuals outside tried to, they just compute within each other to come and have a post in with the military commanders. Yeah. We are soldiers. EPLF is a military organization. Military organization doesn't deliver freedom, personal liberty. Military organization fights military. A soldier fights a soldier. A soldier cannot deliver liberty, personal liberty. Because whether it is in Eritrea, in America, in Asia, a soldier is a soldier. When you first go to the military training, the first thing they do is they take liberty. You are now, that's what he said. From now onward, I will give my life for the sake of the nation, for the sake of the people. Okay. I am ready to be obeyed whatever I am told to do. That's what he's saying. Any soldier all over the world. And we were soldiers.
Yeah. So, Michelle, are you there? Yeah. Okay. Any view on this? Because what we expect is a lot of Eritreans expect democracy system should be implemented by EPLF, but EPLF failed to do that, and EPLF was replaced by PFDJ 94 as well. Do you have any comment on that?
I'm afraid, Moses, I missed a lot of the comments that went before, because I've not got great reception. So it's best if I...
Okay, the question was that EPLF failed to implement the civil liberty, the civil right of the Eritrean people.
Yeah, but the EPLF were not the only, there were lots of other players and lots of other organizations, and, this is what tends to happen, and I think I'm agreeing with her, say that the people, rebel movements then tend to assume that they represent an entire country.
Okay.
And of course, they don't. They liberated the country. They don't represent every single part of it, and every single community, and every single age group and gender. So that's the arrogance that comes with when you seize power and you've won the war. But the thing what they tend to forget is that there are other communities within that society that also deserve to have a say and have to have a say, otherwise they will end up feeling alienated.
Sure. Michelle, are you staying a bit longer with us so that I can allow the audience to ask questions?
Can I give you 10 more minutes?
Yeah, please. Yeah, sure. Let me call this person. So the question I have is, during the education system, Mr. Tadesse, because you were part of the education system, at what time did the young Eritrean been taken their freedom?
The question.
Yeah, the question is for you. Okay. Just wait after that. Hello, Amaniel. Kami Wilka. Yeah, quick, Mr. Martin KDU. Is Michela ግን ምሳና ኣላ ማለት እዩ ሶ ክትሓትት ንሕደል ኢኻ ብትግርኛ ሕተት እሞ ብእንግሊሽ ወይ ሚስተር ታደሰ ወይ ኣነ ከብለ هراي go ahead no quick حتت مناتو 10 دقيقة عايز الله قوي
okay I'm sure I hope you will find knowing the history of the DJ and ETLF and how they consume the information.
Okay, it's very bad. Okay, Tadesse, apology. Go ahead. It's my fault.
About the education system, look, the EPLF as a government.
No. Let him finish. Did he finish, Ato Manuel?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, go ahead then, quick. Quick then. Yes.
Okay, knowing the history of EPLF and TFDJ and the way they work with information, does he think the current coronavirus report is accurate? And does he make you think they could be concealing something?
Okay, let me get back, Michelle back, so we ask her. Okay, I will disconnect to you, Ato Manuel. Thank you. Thank you for asking question. Hi, Michela. Sorry, the system doesn't work properly. I could have you, but that was my mistake. I could add another person onto the member, but the question was: we have PLF or Mr. Tadesse? Do you want to take it?
No. Is Michelle is going to answer or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You need to ask the question because she was not listening. She was disconnected. The question was, if I don't miss it properly, he's asking if the coronavirus is doing any worse than the existing system we have. Do we get enough information from inside of Eritrea? Is that correct, Mr. Tadesse, if I understood it?
No, I didn't listen to him properly. The sound was a little bit.
Okay, so go ahead. Let's get on this one, and if you can answer this question.
Okay.
Mr. Michelle, did you get the question?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not on the ground. I mean, this is the trouble with Eritrea, that we don't have, anyone who writes about Eritrea and writes a book about it never goes back there again. So I'm afraid I couldn't tell you. I think, what seems to be working in Africa's favor as far as COVID is concerned at the moment is the youth of the population, because we know it's an illness that affects mostly elderly people, diabetics, people who have existing health issues, and most of the population in Africa is much younger than most of the population here in the north. So that may well work in Eritrea's favor, but I just don't have those contacts and I don't have that information.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you then: can coronavirus bring any change in the African states? I mean, the African continent, because we've seen on the Nigerian, there is a lot of troubles within the economy. People need to go to work, need to go to the market to buy and sell. That's how they live. They don't have any banking system, especially Eritrea healthcare system is very zero in the modern history of Africa. And there is no cash flow in any business in Eritrea. So is it anything can coronavirus bring to change the Eritrean?
I think we're really at the start of seeing what happens in Africa with COVID, with Corona, because the impression I get is the statistics are simply not there. The figures are not there, and because you have in Eritrea, like many of these countries, you don't have a government that is going to be free and open with its figures on testing, on infection rates, on mortality rates. It's really hard to know what's going on, and I think that's going to be true. When you look at a map now of Africa, and keep looking at the maps that are published, what you see is these sort of vast areas which apparently have no coronavirus whatsoever, but they also tend to coincide with the parts of Africa which are known to be statistically completely unaccountable. So, you know, if you look at the figures for Congo, you used to think, is it really possible that a country that size has so few cases? And who knows?
Okay.
If you've ever read a book called Poor Numbers by someone called, by a writer called Martin Plaut, Poor Numbers, it looked at the statistics for Africa and concluded that there wasn't really a single government in Africa whose statistics could be trusted. Now that book came out at least 10 years ago, and no doubt in some of those countries that situation has changed. But after I read that book, I remember thinking how ridiculous it was that people make models and, you know, predictions and estimates as far as the economy and all sorts of important statistics, because the figures just aren't there. So I think that's a really massive problem with Africa, and I'm just not convinced that the information is coming out at the moment.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the public before I go off? Okay, Mr. Tadesse, go ahead.
First, I would say thank you, Michela. I have read your books. I did do it for you, and it's on time. You just share our history to the wider community of the world, and thank you for it very much. And I think you asked him about the education and how it failed to teach the young, our young generation. APLF, from its incentive, was against education. It was against the intellectuals. It's better to put like this. So after independence, of course, the teaching the policy is everybody has to learn until the basic level. I mean junior level. After that, he's not. It's up to him to learn or not. But the people inside the education system, the teachers, and even all the staff in the Ministry of Education were working very hard to have a very good education system and to teach their young to their most. The problem is on the political decision. The politicians, they are determined to not to teach the young. The young has to be. We didn't teach our young the life skills. You might teach them some maths, logarithm, and something, but we didn't teach the young our history, how to solve problems, because education by itself is change of behavior, But did we advise or teach our young generation to be effective on solving problems? Do we teach them to have life skills? No. Instead, after 19, I was as a supervisor.
Let me bring Michelle onto this. So, what would be your advice on education? Because education was in Eritrea, as in your book says, apartheid was first in Eritrea before South Africa. And education level during the Italian colony was very low as well due to the colony system. But young Eritrean now in diaspora, there is opportunity to go to school or to learn online. Technology is there. What would be your advice, Michelle? Because Mr. Tadesse, I will get back to you on this before she leave us.
Yeah, I mean, I do think sometimes people don't realize how much you can do online, how much available, really good reading there is now completely free. I mean, you know, just in this country, in Britain, the fact that the BBC is free, you can read anything on the BBC, The Guardian is free. These are huge amounts of information, well-written, book reviews, stories, fiction, non-fiction accounts, long investigative journalism. And I think, you know, this is a great way of educating yourself. The people who, most of us end up educating ourselves. You know, we start off with basis, which we're taught at school, and then we take it and we run with it. And I know that, you know, I did most of my reading myself. You know, yes, I had a good school, but I kept on reading in my own spare time when I was a teenager, reading all my parents' books, going to the library. And now, you know, I wouldn't have to go to the library. It would all be online. And I think sometimes people forget how much is available. And they've got it on a phone now, and it's there just waiting for them. So all I can do is use your phone, use those websites, you know, use your laptops, because that's the best form of education, is what the education you give yourself.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things, it's vital. Education is one of the things. I think this, I blame myself as well, not providing the young Eritrean how to educate themselves for that. We started a few years ago, but in the diaspora, we have, as you said, there is opportunity to learn and to educate yourself. But when you have...
You know, those websites I mentioned, for example, the
Guardian.
You can read them anywhere in the world.
Yes, you're right. I think...
watch, you know, in many places you can watch Al Jazeera for free,
Yeah.
or, you know, BBC World Service for free. You know, so information is so available now, and I'm not just talking about information, but also well expressed, things that are well argued.
Okay, let me ask you, Michelle, then. Let's rephrase this, because Eritrean young people, they've been driven to military and not knowing even Eritrean history. For example, we make these football shirts to highlight our history, because who died during the fighting, which the name is not known to any Eritrean. The history started back from 1980, back to, no, 1890, during the fighting of First World War. So the history Eritrean is already hidden for the Eritrean people, for the young Eritrean as well. Because during the Italian, we had a lot of fights, people being imprisoned in Dahlak Island on the hot desert. So how do you bring history to educate your own people?
I know it's not easy because, for example, I know that they're not really what I would call any serious bookshops in Asmara.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to the bookshops and they're really, really very disappointing.
Yeah.
What I know from other parts of Africa is that you know, people who care about these things, when they go traveling, will fill up their suitcases with books.
Yeah.
And you know, in the airports of South Africa, Dar es Salaam, Kampala, Addis, you know, they just buy all the latest books they can get their hands on, and especially non-fiction history of Africa. And then the good thing about a book, and why I mentioned a very old-fashioned thing, which is a book, is that you can then pass it around.
Yes.
And you don't have to have a good connection. So I know, for example, I wrote quite an important book about corruption in Kenya, which caused a big sort of fuss at the time. You couldn't buy it locally, and people used to take it in their suitcases and then, you know, just pass it around. So one book would be read by 15 people. And I was very happy with that, because that's what books are for. So I think, you know, get your relatives, well, if you're in the diaspora, send books back. And if you're in Asmara, ask them to send you books. Get, you know, The Economist, send copies of The Economist, read The Economist, share them, that way it's not so expensive.
Let me ask you then a question then, Michelle. Because we have many young Eritrean, like Mr. Tadesse as well, they are willing to write a book, they spend a lot of time writing in Tigrinya, all that, but how can you wrap a book and take it into the end customers? What's the process on that? How hard is it? What's the demand? What's the cost of that? Because I don't know, this is not my area.
This process has changed a lot.
Yeah.
It's changing as we speak, because it used to be you needed a publisher. So you needed something like HarperCollins, who are my publisher, or you know, all these Bloomsbury or Penguin, or you needed one of those companies. You would go to them, and then they would give you a commission, and you'd go away and spend a couple of years writing the book, and then they would distribute the book. And if you didn't have the publisher, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And the problem became to find a publisher. And that's still true if you want to have a commercial book that is sold in bookshops, and you know, that you see in airports and things like that. The thing is that all the bookshops are closing anyway.
Yes.
And what you're seeing more and more is that people are either they're using small publishing houses that are really set up by 2 or 3 people, or you can go on Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon has has a possibility. You can actually publish your own book on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can do something like that, which is then print to order, where somebody will buy your book and it will be printed in India and they get the copy. There are lots of sort of companies which it used to be called vanity publishing, but now it's within the reach of many people. So you can have editions that are website only, that are digital books, and therefore you're not having. I mean, the reason books needed publishers and were very expensive was because they had to be printed on paper and distributed. Now, if you can distribute on the internet, then the whole story changes. And I think if people want to write a book, I would very strongly recommend that they look at Amazon's self-publishing venture. That anyone can have a look at that. And there are many similar publishing ventures where you basically you write your book, edit it. Maybe you get a friend to edit it, to correct it. You choose the design, and you can produce a book pretty much on your own. And then you have to publicize it on your own as well, and that again, use social media or the internet. So it's a very different scenario. I'm not saying it's easy, because a lot of effort is involved in all of that. But it's a completely different scene now.
Let me add to that. This book is written by Mr. Ali. He's Eritrean. He wrote about book, and he wrote it in Arabic as well. So 3 months ago, in February, he gave me a PDF in Arabic. So I took that PDF, I extracted and translated in English. But I don't understand Arabic. I don't have I can see the outcome is good. Even the image, I can extract them. So I think anyone who has in Arabic, any Eritrean, or you want to write, or it's already written, you can take a picture of it and send it to me. I can extract it and translate it to English if you have it in Arabic. So I can help you on this. Well, the process is you extract it from the image, you put it into OCR, from OCR you extract it and you translate it. You can use Google or the...
Let me just make one warning that there's also a lot of piracy out there. And I understand why people pirate books. But, I hope you did that with that man's permission.
Well, I mean, I was helping him, so...
Books are circulating and our names have been removed from them, and someone else is saying what a lovely book it is, but someone else is claiming credit.
So how do
you've got to give credit where it's due.
How do you get this kind of securities? Because what I do is I try to disconnect my system from the connection internet when I translate it, because there is a lot of out there tools you can translate them, but how accurate they are, I'm not sure. So what we do is I just helping him, because it's about 300 something pages. So we hand it back to his family so that they can read it from Arabic to English. They can compare the outcome of it. So there is a lot of technologies as well helping us. So for those Eritrean who's trying to write, I think there is an option to do that as well. But self-learning is one of the things which we need to push young Eritrean. You have to read, you have to educate.
My memory of military service, I didn't do it myself, but everyone in my father's generation did it.
And
I remember that my father read War and Peace when he was doing his military service, and there's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of waiting around military service, and a lot of opportunities to read. So you used to be able to buy these little books that had a very, very close together print. And I think that these are opportunities. You're young, if you have a lot of time because you're doing military service, but you're not doing exercises, but you're just waiting around. Use it as an opportunity to read something other than the Bible or the Quran. Because I know that often people, when they have time to read, that's what they'll be reading. But the years when you're young, they'll be really different, exciting.
I like what you bring now, because I was working with my cousin. He's based in Swiss, and he's a very addict to Bible. I was telling him, you know what, you need to put your time, spare time to the Bible, but you need to spend a bit of time on the coding, because at the moment I'm learning new coding as well to build an app using IoT. So this is good what you're bringing. So how can they prioritize given, okay, because many young people are very deep into church.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do? Do we need to work with the church to educate them, or do we need to do this kind of Facebook channel? Because the main reason I brought you today here is to educate our young people. It's not for me, it's not for Mr. Tadesse, this is for all Eritrean who's watching this, who will be watching this video as well.
Well, my experience in Africa is that when you're having an oppressive regime, and I lived in quite a few places which had them, the church was often a force for enlightened reform. And you met priests who were really extraordinary people who were sort of in a quiet way being somewhat subversive and challenging.
Okay.
And that's not always true, and that's of course why often the government of the day will do its best to control who runs and leads those churches or those mosques.
Okay, let me ask you a question and find out for both of you, Mr. Tadesse. Eritrean regime is getting money from diaspora for the foreign currency, all that. That's what they do normally. They collect money and misuse those money. We don't have any transparency. I mean, I don't know why people paying for this. Most of them even forced actually to pay if you have house or if you have to go visit your family, you have to do. As you mentioned, sending books to Eritrea, they don't allow you actually. When I was doing my PhD at UCL, we collect a lot of books, and I asked the embassy of Eritrea at London. They said you have to be a member of the Young PDF before you can send books. That's what they said. So they don't even allow you. But how can we reduce this collecting fund from genuine Eritrean work?
There are a lot of Eritreans who won't pay that tax, will they?
Yes, but most of them, they are now forced to pay because since 2018, 99% Eritrean has been united more than ever, and they're very against everything, but they force them. If they have to go to Eritrea, you have to pay. If you have a business, if you have your mom there, if you have house, if you want to renew your license of that, you have to pay 2%. Especially for the coronavirus, they've been collecting, forcing them to pay actually by sending letters, by calling people to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a problem, but I also know that there are various campaigns that have been waged against this, bringing this very much to the attention of the authorities in Britain, in Canada, in the Netherlands, in France. So what the embassy is doing is not always permitted by the government in which the embassy is based. And I think there's been a lot of clever campaigning waged by Eritreans in the diaspora against that. So I think that's something that's necessary.
Okay, Mr. Tadesse, any?
Yes, it's very crucial. It's very, very very important point to make. The government of Eritrea, 1/3 of its foreign currency comes from abroad, from us, from remittance. This is first was 2%. Everybody was asked to pay 2%. Then it's going to 10%. Then there is another martyrs' children, Drarta Gadalti, and so and so and so. The reasons are immense. Development for village development, rural development, your sub-zone development. They use a lot of excuse to extract money from here to Eritrea. Look, the Eritrean government never accepts in kind. They only accept in money because they want that money to divide, to spread seeds of hate, to hire lawyers to dismantle the opposition. It's against the people. So people in Eritrean diaspora, they might very careful sending money to Eritrea. Of course, the whole population in Eritrea is expecting us to send money. I send for my mother. Somebody sends for his children. This has to be done. What I'm opposing is sending money for developmental or something more than that, unless it is emergency, unless it is life-threatening, because somebody at home has to eat to live, but he cannot send other money there. Please reduce the money we send Eritrea. Thousands of pounds is going collected here and everywhere. Let alone let's go to embassy in London. He doesn't have the money. All his budget is from us, from who live
From diaspora.
in Great Britain. They collect money. They use the money here and ask the government to pay enough in Eritrea. Yeah. Unless they have our money here, they cannot operate to divide us. They cannot operate to suppress us. They cannot hire people who get inside us and dismantle and divide us. So we are doing against ourselves.
So we are empowering the regime to control us in diaspora by paying 2%,
yes,
or disabled or young or that. Okay, let me tell you then, because Michelle, do you have any advice?
I think he made some really excellent points there.
Yeah. Okay. So since 2011, the mining made about 1.2 billion euros. This was the German government did research on this. And they haven't spent a penny on the healthcare, education service, or any cities, all that. So why do Eritrean diaspora paying on this crisis? Because now is the crisis. No one is working. You've been funded by the government, by taxpayers of UK, and you're paying a regime in Eritrea here because the state of Eritrea should be a state of Eritrea. It should export and import and help itself by its own. As you said, we need to, that's why the independent came. So how can we drive this forward and stop them? And what's the message you can share with us, Michelle, today before you go?
You know, I think if you look at what has happened during the Arab Spring, and the way in which, you know, there comes a point where the conversation just moves on because young people will simply not stand for the nonsense that has gone before. And I think, you know, there's a lot of hesitation, but I think generational change has happened in Eritrea. When first, when the G15 were first locked up, and people were so appalled and alarmed and despondent, and people started leaving the country, you know, there's been a lot of time has passed. A lot of time has passed. And we can't keep having the same conversations. We can't keep worrying about the factionalism between old ELF fighters and EPLF fighters. And the young people who are leaving the country really just have to decide whether they're going to take control of the future or not, or whether they're just going to be people who leave and just waiting for the next military coup. You know, is that what they want in the country they're leaving behind? Because they can't expect the older generation to you know, build a path to the future. It's really up to them. I mean, I'm sorry, I've got to go now.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to have you today. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Eritrean refugee, by behalf of the Eritrean people in prison in Eritrea, the voiceless people, those people who could not make it, but they will watch the video. And hopefully one day, I think we will check the system, how it works on your laptop so that we can make it live as well. So
I would love that. I must apologize for all
no worries, because this is 21st century. I assume every laptop should work on the program, but
I have an old laptop.
Okay. Well, I can put some good technical system next time if you need any help. So I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Tadesse, if you have to say any thank you, and this is an opportunity to thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm very grateful for your help for the, the telling our story to the wider community, and we hope from now onward we are going to be on our side to connect us, the opposition party, with the wider community in the UK as well. If you have time, sometimes we need help because we don't know the system here in the UK. We don't know what the legacy, what we have to do and what we cannot do. So people like you who have some knowledge about Eritrea, we need your help, even 1 hour in a month or something. We need advice. And thank you for what you have done before. and we are expecting to more help even after this time.
Okay, let me ask you something before you go. If you want to write about Eritrea again, a book, what would be your favorite topic?
Are you talking to me, Moses?
Yes.
Well, if I had to write about Eritrea again?
Yes.
Oh, you know, it's very hard to go back to a subject when you've already written about it.
Yeah.
Because,
How about for the new generation? Because you're writing about mass movement and this.
about 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Something I haven't mentioned is that I did go back and write another book about Eritrea, and it's a novel called Borderlines.
Oh, okay.
And in it, I changed some of the names, but it's very much about the border dispute
Okay.
between Eritrea and Ethiopia. So I've done 2 books about Eritrea, and I'm not going to write any more.
No. Oh, we want you to be on side, writing on the young Eritrean who died on the Egyptian Sinai, organ trafficking, human trafficking. People have been dragged by money from one place to other place.
Dan Connell is the person to read on that subject.
Who?
Dan has been writing about Eritrea since the 1970s. You know, he wrote one of the most famous books about Eritrea ever.
What was his name?
Dan Connell.
Dan Connell. Okay.
His famous book.
Yeah.
And, you know, against all odds. And he's writing about that subject as we speak. He's done a huge amount of research on it.
Yeah.
He's an American who has a very intense, in particular, understanding and interest of Eritrea. So I wouldn't dare to even write about it when he's out there already doing that research and that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you today. Hoping to see you again if we need another session. And but thank you taking your time from this busy writing a book. It's not that easy. But yeah, thank you very much. Bye. Thank you. Have a lovely evening and stay safe and healthy.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to add 3 points. One is about the money. We are collecting the money. Mm-hmm. Please, I appeal to all Eritrean in diaspora. Let's restrict the money sent home only for emergency to feed our daughters, our mothers, and people. Apart from that, there is no way any developmental projects are going to help truly inside Eritrea. Unless the government of Eritrea is using us to collect money, and that money is used to dismantle us, to put hate, divide. Because if they want to hire solicitors, that's with our money we collect here. They NAFA in Eritrea is just a paper. They do it in a factory, but pound or dollar they can't get it. So let's restrict. Let's reduce the money we send home. Let's reduce the money we give the government. Okay, unless we do that, we'll do.
Mr. Tadesse, let me tell you, because during the Haile Selassie, we had many multimillionaire Eritreans who had thousands of towers in Asmara, everywhere. During the Derg, everything was taken. Yeah, until the independent, everybody got his house after the independent as well. So those who owns houses, that's the main reason why they went. Or those people who has money inside Eritrea as a deposit, that's what they put it. So money cannot save you your life. House cannot save your life. People are dying. You're not going to see those houses. You're not going to stay there. So why are you paying? Why are you extending the life of this regime? We want to cut them. That's the message you're sending, yeah?
Yeah, that's not only the supporters of EPLF, those the opposition, even the opposition parties. I know some opposition, they are appealing people to send money to home for projects and developments. Look, Eritrean, all Eritreans. During the struggle, we fight, and there was a lot of problem in all our village and parents, and we have to endure that. We cannot support the government in its financial, because the government doesn't have a finance unless we finance it. This is my main thing. Those who have houses, your houses are going not. They are there. They are not going after the PFDJ government is going. The houses are there. You can make them. But now You are not going to live on them. So this is my message: is please, let's reduce the money, especially those on the opposition government. Don't instigate, don't push people to pay you money here for the wicked government, PNF government.
Let me ask you one question, because Martin is off. He has to go, and now we can ask any question in Tigrinya if people. But what will be your advice? Because we might have still our Eritrean friends who doesn't speak Tigrinya. That's why we're still keeping it in English. But what will be your advice on the media? Because the media is very weak, as I can see, and we're spending too much time in Tigrinya, Arabic, in Facebook, or even the TV channel, the satellite channel. I don't see any kind of initiative to empower the people and to connect with the rest of the world. What would be your advice? What do you see there, a weakness that has to be improved?
Okay, before I answer the question, can I add about what we had before?
Sure.
In 1991, we failed to install or make a civilian government because there were no civilian institutions, and the intellectuals were competing each other to have a post in the newly installed government in Eritrea. Now, what about tomorrow? What about tomorrow if there is a coup in Eritrea? Are the intellectuals going to come to have a position in the newly government, or are we going to demand that military group has to give up its power to the people? This is very crucial. Last time, when the rumors came Ishas has died, and well, Michela Wrong is going to have the post, a lot of people support it. No, let's not do this. Our aim is to have a civilian government. Whoever comes to the post, let's demand together. Demand. Let's stop. Try to them to give the power to the people. Whether it's Mikhail, Philippos, or whoever he is comes. It's not because he is our relative also. It's about the system. The system has to be changed. These military commanders have to give their power to the people, and they have to sit on a box like all military defense mechanism in America. The military is in a box. In UK, the military is in a box. And in Eritrea, the military has to be in a small box inside them. Let's demand that you have to be united. We have betrayed by the intellectuals in 1991-93, and now the intellectuals have to be united to ask the military at any time to hand the power to the people. That's my message.
Okay, it's good because you've been from the PLF, you've been inside or outside of that fighting group. I mean, the heroes, I would say, because a lot of people underestimated. Eritrean made history in the modern Africa. No one has achieved in Africa. Even apartheid took them about 30 years to get rid of apartheid. But there is no in Africa that fought for their independence to be free. So you made your history. So after 91, it should be handed into civilian roles. That's what he's saying. So it shouldn't be rolled by military. Military should be just protecting the country as a command, as we see in Europe. The Prime Minister of UK, you have, for example. So the command will come from the Prime Minister. So you wouldn't bring any soldier to command the city or the coronavirus management.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And just as team, I'm appealing for all educated, all diaspora people in diaspora. Our target is just what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you then a question, because I've been to a few meetings. So I've seen many people, as soon as they grab the microphone, they feel like, oh, I'm the leader of it. And how do you educate these people to serve their own people? Because being a leader, you have to serve your own people, because this is the greatest challenge ahead of us. It's not an easy task to work in diaspora to remove this regime, because we have very, very poor kind of, many people are coming from military background. All young people had less knowledge of the history of Eritrea. What we know is about the regime and the military, and the generals, all that. How can we mobilize, empower young people to come forward to lead, and same time women? We don't have women and girls. How do you empower those girls?
In fact, the questions are a lot of questions together.
Yeah,
One is, if I understood, Indian diaspora, we in diaspora have left our country, we have rooted out, to put it. It might be too far, but we are rooted out from our country. If we go to Eritrea now, we are still immigrants. We are newcomers. We don't just assimilate the people easily. So being here in Europe or in America, if we are expecting to be leaders of the people in Eritrea, you can't unless you are supported by foreign bodies. So what we can do here is, as I said, being opposition party in Europe, in America, we have only two things to do. One, to reduce the influence of the regime outside Eritrea. That's the main thing, is to reduce or root out its support outside. The second is to finance or help those who are fighting in Eritrea. If we know, we know some organizations whom we believe in on them, let's finance them. But don't try, I am going to be a leader in Eritrea, or don't try to take money on the name of the position. That's the main thing. You take pictures on the seminars and you go and beg for granted. So
yeah, I think
yeah, that's the main problem on us. We here are only to cut the hands of the regime.
So what you're saying is we need to take a lead. No one takes a picture of from any meeting and raising fund for their own purpose, for their own organization, because
that's what we are here. That's what we know.
From Brussels to Geneva, from Geneva to Norway, we have many organizations. Every city of Europe, they all claim behalf of Eritrean refugee, behalf of the young people actually. And those young people, they're not getting any penny, they're not getting any benefit from those charity, from those organizations as well. Okay, that's good. The second, you mentioned that what I believe is we have many Eritrean people in Eritrea, they can lead the country. We only need one leader for 4 years. Let's say the constitution is built by 4 years or 5 years. But we've seen in diaspora, many leaders, they want to be a leader of Eritrea, the next leader. I don't think they will have this opportunity. What would be your advice on this?
I think to see on my point, some wants to be leaders and some wants to make money of it. But as I said before,
it's not about leader, it's about hunger of power. Let's put it that way. Instead of saying leadership. Leadership is, you can't buy leadership. The leadership grows up with you. And leadership you can't buy. You can't even go to school and learn about it. Leadership is the way you brought up. So, but power, hunger power is everywhere. What we see in Europe, go to the inside Eritrea, outside Eritrea. How do we educate these people to step down back and serve the Eritrean people and be part of the mass movement?
Yeah.
It's very agile. That's why we call it this. Agile driven means is ask very specific question and do some specific task in the short term. Because mass movement, what's the difference between mass movement and party? Can you explain about this?
Yeah, I think, look, on your first question, the seeds of division is rooted in our society, not because our society is divided, but these seeds came from the PFDJ government. They try to divide us every day now and every time. So now the educated, the intellectuals are just hovering on top. We are not mixed with each other. We don't have the ability to sit down and discuss what we can do. There is a lot of separation, division, young, old, educated, uneducated. That's the division. And this has those, especially those who have educated and those who have some exposure to the wider community of the world. They should come to us and just let's discuss what we can do. Don't sit there on your own. You are just making meeting on your own, only intellectual meeting. You have no connection with the mass movement, as you said. And the second thing is, if power is going to be there is government in Eritrea in the future, let's do the constitution, the platform. We put the platform, and after we put the platform, we can play on that platform. But unless we have the platform for the in our nation, we cannot dream for power, because power is always, everybody wants to be governor, everybody wants a leader, but our role is to have the platform first. That's what I can say. And the young, yes, I know, I always go to the educational policy in Eritrea. It's not about the people, the educational staff. It's about the political will of the government that is end up here. A lot of people I listen, they glorify the Tigrayan movement more than the Eritrean movement, because some of them, many of them, they don't know the Eritrean history. We were fighting to 1 to 20, 3 million to 20 million. Our history of courage is enormous. So,
I think
but we need to pass this one.
Because I think the history was covered up. This is what I've seen. When I went 96 first time to Eritrea, I tried to search books, but all the history was just covered up. There was no any real history of Eritrea. For example, the parliament leader of Eritrea, they were not there. The names, all those things, that was hidden. Like Adam was the engine of the ELF in Egypt. There were only 7 people to create ELF. That ELF was created by 7 people and made it 9-1 to be Eritrea independent. So Eritrea needs only 2 people in Europe to work very hard to make this. But in terms of getting into strong, all that, how do you see that people, they can come and trust you and be part of your mass movements? Because this is one of the main questions. How do you attract people? Because we've seen Eritrean meeting is too long and the discussion is very broad. It's not narrowed, it's not agile, it's always long-term. What do we need to do as Eritrean to short the life of this system?
I can trace this one. When I came here in Birmingham in 2003, 2004, we hadn't have any chance to meet with the wider community here in the Eritrean community. We were traced up. We have been insulting as traitors because we came from Eritrea. In 2005, I know those who came from Sahara, they were treated just, everybody was giving their back because they considered us traitors. So the Eritrean government has done everything to alienate its opponents, alienate who came from Eritrea, unless he's going to support the government or go to the embassies and give him up. So now the situation is a little changed, but the enemy lives within us. The enemy lives within. So always they change their color, and there is always the hate and division seeds are always within us. So first, if you follow the media, the media speaks. Everybody speaks. Those who were on the EPLF know the history. Who knows the history? Who knows what's going on in Eritrea? They don't speak. They are keeping silent because the platform is not for them. The platform is not for them. Look,
the ex-fighters, people, I mean, generals, and who was in diaspora, is that what you meant?
Yes. For example, some of them are considered traitors or government spies. But let's call them, and this is crucial also. Media has to play its part. The government is financially strong. We, the opposition, are financially very weak. We don't have, we go on our pocket, from our pockets, but the government, we fund the government, as I said before. We fund the government to devise us. So now, if it's possible, let's get rid the seeds of the hate and division, especially for the top who are in the ELF or NPLF, the leaders who used to be in Eritrea. They have to come to us, and they shouldn't be afraid to be asked. They shouldn't afraid to be interrogated. Of course, they cannot answer everything, but they should unite the people who came here. We are all. I am on my lady.
I think, let me give you in mass movement. I think, if do you remember, the British exit had the same challenge within the UK, within the UK community as well. Everybody was divided, all that. Because as a society, you get divided.
Yes.
If you don't have a leadership, everything is very hard. So if I give you an example, most of UK population they're not into A level. They're not that all have master degree or PhD. So it's not about education. It's about kind of seeing the niche of movement, making action. If you do actions, people will come to you. So I think this is one of the things. But as you said, inviting, working together, this is one of my advice, because even Mrs. Wrong was saying there is too much gap between the elderly fighters and the young fighters as well. Bringing this into one table is one of the to go forward, because this is one way to go. So my advice would be, in every city where you live, try to connect with your young people.
Yes, because I think this is traced back to 1991 to 1994. That's the starting point of the division between the former EPLF fighters and the new prescripted national service. This was politically motivated division. Now
they have to divide you to roll you. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yes.
they won't survive. This is one of the tools, but how do we dismantle these tools? Because this is 21st century. Since 2018, Eritreans are united more than ever. The problem you have is leading them, bring them to the table, and take them to as a mass movement. That's what we need to go forward. So I think there is things we need to do with Eritrean as well. Every single Eritrean has to bring their duty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm inviting.
Sit there and watch those videos and go on live on Facebook and be behind of the screen and do nothing and just saying, well, complain about Eritrea, complain about the regime. But we have hundreds of thousands of Eritrean refugees in Libya. We have hundreds of thousands of refugees in the north part of Ethiopia and Tigray, in Sudan. If coronavirus hit those places, we lose our people.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I'm appealing to those educated and who knows the EPLF or ELF. They shouldn't hide themselves or alienate themselves. They should come to us. And the young, we have to respect each other. We have to respect it. If I go to them and they insulted me on the meeting, I'm not going to come to them tomorrow. Of course, this happens many times. But they can criticize politically, but it's not personal attack. And the personal attack is these people are driven by PFDJ gangs. But the community standing on the meeting, they have to challenge not to happen this. Because that's why the educated and the experienced fighters who are fighting in Eritrea are running away from us. They don't want to be insulted. They have their own dignity. That is the main problem.
Yeah, if those people are very aggressive and behaving badly, you can take them into courts. That's one of the things that we need to know the system. In every single country in Europe, in States, in Canada, you are regulated by the law. So if someone is shouting, hating you because of your Muslim or Christian or your region, your ethnic group, you are allowed to take them. In the state, they charge you about $30,000 US. And you can serve 3-4 months in prison as well. In the UK, the same thing. By the law of UK, you're not allowed to hate or to stream any hate videos or Facebook, Integrinia, all that. I think if we work very hard, we can interpret this and make it. And the technology is changing. You're not going to hate everybody. You're not going to do the same thing what you did 2 years ago. So you need to be very, very careful what you do on Facebook, because we can collect those data and translate them and hand them to the police. Even you are in Norway, we can reach to you. Even this transmission, if you do something wrong on this, you send any hate to Mr. Tadesse or Mr. Martin or that, we can collect this and we'll take it to court and you face all the challenge. So
that's the main thing is we don't know the system. Look,
I guarantee you, this is one of my work. I don't spend that much time on Facebook, but my main professional is LinkedIn. And if you have any professional, LinkedIn. In terms of education or anything you need people, let me know so we can arrange another event in the next 2-3 weeks dedicate for young people. So I want you to come forward to ask questions or what you want. In terms of education, business, we could do this as well. So next week we have another session and we sent the poster on Monday so that you can see it. So we have about 4 people. Massimo today, he didn't make it today because one of his colleagues, she was kidnapped in Kenya and been driven to Somalia. So she was being released after 18 months. So he has to go to the airport to stay with her today. So I can send his apology today on behalf of him, but he will be very good as well to be part of us next week, Sunday at the same time. Apology was Michelle's, her computer was not working, but next time we'll make all this tests before we launch on this. Any advice, Tadesse? Let me ask the audience, any question? بتقرينيا تحطوا تدلي وتحطوا تخليهم ويدا كنستيون الحرام لكم كوينكن حتى الحرام لكم كي عاتنا يا خلنا عات واصل زهرنا حجي I think thank you very much for taking your time to be part of this discussion today. It's privilege to have you, and hoping to do this again and when everything is settled on the system as well.
Thank you, Dr. Musa, to have me here to discuss with all prominent journalists and writers here. And we hope we'll do more in the future. Thank you very much.
I think I have to add to that. We didn't pay them any penny to be with us today. Michelle is writing a book, and she take time of her busy time. She didn't even spend any time on the weekend to relax or to do anything to enjoy the good weather. Martin is writing a book as well in South Africa. So they're all busy. They just giving us 1 hour their daily break to contribute to our struggle. So our struggle is, it doesn't come from free. We don't pay them. We don't have anything to hide. And please, next time, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, even in Tigrinya. The more you ask, the more we can learn. So from next week, we will have as well the same thing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.